All right, then. Should be ready to go here in a few minutes. All right, 5 minutes. 5 minutes and counting. Okay. Hi, Latoya. How are you? Hi, Latoya. Glad to have you on the feed. Happy Saturday, Latoya. All right, we're starting in about 3 minutes, y'all. You can introduce yourself in the chat. That'd be amazing. Latoya's in the house. She came by and stopped to talk to you, didn't she? Yeah. Hey guys, we're just about getting started. Go ahead and sign in on the chat. And we're just going to get started in a few minutes, just 1 more minute. So far, we got 7 people on the stream. And it's 11 o'clock. All right, we're going to get started now. The virtual meeting. We're so glad to have you on the live stream. And we're just going to go over take about 45 minutes and go over some things I've been teaching for the last 3 decades about how to purchase homes. And so if you're live here, we get a book, but we're going to go ahead and if you'd like to give us your email or send us a message, we'll go ahead and send you out a soft copy of it. So anywhere in the world you guys are at, we can give you a copy of the book. The book is Home Buying Secrets Revealed. It's a best-selling book. And that's literally helped hundreds of families into home ownership. And so I've been doing these presentations since 1993. The same presentation, just things like technology has changed and everything like that. But the basic ways of buying a house have been pretty much the same steps. So we're going to cover 2 chapters in the book. First one is the reasons why you'd want to purchase a home. And obviously there's a lot of reasons, but I want to give you some things to think about. And then the other is the 10 steps of the home buying process. We're going to walk you through step by step what it takes to get into a home. Steps are the same, just technology and the way we do things have differed. So one of the things in the book that we have is I like to pull this out, is the needs and wants list. And this is really a good form to be able to, when you get ready and serious about thinking about what kind of home you want to buy, the needs and wants list is a really good way to get started. We'll cover that in the second section of this. I also have our realty agreement and our IABS form, and also a flyer with our properties here. We're at DR Horton's model home here in Pecan Creek. Pecan Creek is in Temple, Texas. It is, DR Horton is the largest builder in the United States by far, and they're also the largest builder in the Central Texas area. And really, there's only a couple national builders in this area. And DR Horton's got the 800-pound gorilla. They've got more property and inventory, and that's becoming a struggle with some of the other builders because we're not seeing as much development of lots to be able to keep up with the demand. So Jeremy was telling me, he's the on-site agent here, that they've been selling them at least a couple a week, and partly it's because they offer such great incentives, and that's something we're going to be talking about. Is they offer 4.5 30-year fixed with no extra additional costs. So that's, that brings your payment. I was just doing some numbers for our friend that's on the line right now, and she could qualify for a DR Horton home for $250,000 because of the 4.5% interest rate. But if she wanted to go regular conventional without using the builder's incentive, she can afford about $210,000, $215,000. So you get about an extra $40,000, $50,000 buying power simply because of the interest rate. So we're going to go talk a little bit more about that, but I want to kind of get back to the basics of why I've been so excited about doing these presentations over the years, because I just love it when people light up and they actually get the knowledge that they need. It makes them feel much more comfortable, to be able to walk through the process and have a guide with you all along the way. So first of all, I started doing the presentations, and an acronym I came up with is HOPE. And the reason is that a lot of times people don't, in this market, affordability is a challenge. Credit can be a challenge. There's, the income to debt ratios, all the things that come into buying a home can be almost intimidating and overwhelming to the point of like, I don't even want to, I don't know what to do. So I'm here to break that down for you and then become your personal advisor through the process of purchasing a home from start to finish, all the way to the end, past closing and into warranty period. So HOPE I have here stands for Home Ownership Possible for Everyone. And the reason why I came up with HOPE is because in 1993, I moved to Austin, Texas, and I started a mortgage company and I started a real estate company. And one of the things that we had in the early 90s was that everybody had bad credit. They'd gone through the recession of the 80s. They'd bought a home and lost it. It was just a devastating time. And so when I got here in 93, I said, well, gosh, if I could help these people fix their credit and get them a loan, then they can go out and buy a home, because rent was actually higher than a home payment. And that is the same way today. We're now seeing that the home payments are lower than rent right now. So, I think our friend that's online, she's paying $17.95 a month. And if she bought a house here of the same size, she'd probably be looking at more like 13, 14. So that's a really neat thing to know, that you can also go in zero total move-in or zero down. And that's opening up a lot of doors for people. In fact, it's less than a first month's rent and security deposit. So that's why we're so excited, why DR Horton's doing so well here and always has done well. I sold literally hundreds of DR Horton homes in my career. I own several of them myself as investments. And so I do believe in the product and I do believe in the process. So anyways, home ownership possible for everyone. I see that oftentimes when people come to my class is they have questions first. And then once they get the questions answered, it goes to a light bulb. And I love to see the light bulb go off where you can understand that, yes, I can do this. And so home ownership possible for everyone. We do contribute to charity for any closing that we have goes to a different charity. So Habitat for Humanity being one portion of our proceeds go to that. So let's get into the gist of things and get a little bit of introduction from me. My name is Kenn Renner, a real estate broker here in Central Texas. I've been doing this now for 43 years. I got my first real estate license at 19 years old in Anchorage, Alaska, and it was a time when I also bought my first home and got my first real estate license. And so when I bought that home, I was 19. It was really scary to buy a home. My sister was at an on-site model like this one we're standing in now, and she said, "There's this really great property I think you should take a look at." And I was like, okay, great. So I went down and looked at it. It was a nice 1,300 square foot house, perfect for me. And she encouraged me to buy it. I did. And so it was very exciting. And but then there was like my credit issue that I had, that I forgot to pay a student loan, a few payments. And so I was like concerned about that. And so went through the process of the loan, got an FHA loan. The loan officer was really kind and said, no worries, we just write a little bit of an explanation letter and you're into the home. So I was really excited about that. And it was still scary. I still had buyer's remorse. And that's something you have to realize, that this is a monumental taking over, it's a monumental task that you're doing here to be able to buy a property. And so, it's something that you don't want to do by yourself. So that's what we're here for. For over 40 years, I've had the pleasure of being able to put hundreds of families in homes, and I want to help you get into your next home. I'm going to check the stream real quick, so we've seen some stuff come through. So we are good. All right. So number one reason you want to purchase a home is security. And so when you're renting, you don't have nearly as much control over your living situation as homeowners. For instance, you can right now, if you're on a 30-day, if you're on a rent and you're on a 30-day notice, they can come and give you notice, and maybe they want to sell the house or whatever, and give you notice, and you're out in 30 days. I mean, that's a total disruption of lifestyle. It's very nerve-wracking to know that your landlord, if they decide they can control your living situation, then you're out trying to find another property, and scrambling, and hopefully keeping your kids in the same school district. One thing nice about owning your own home is you will not be forced to move, right? The only time that you'd be forced to move is if it's not by your will, it's because you didn't make the payments. But other than that, we really can't get kicked out of your house. It's also, Texas is one of the #1 property owner rights states, for instance. So we have what's called the homestead, and the homestead allows for people the government allows you to put this homestead on it, and allows that no one can come and take your home for judgments, for bankruptcies, or collection accounts or anything. No one can come and get your home, and the only way you could lose your home is by not making the payments, or the IRS. Those are the only two entities that can take your home away. So you won't be forced to move, and they can't take your home away from you. Third one is we're looking at fixed rates mortgages, and that's one thing a lot of people don't realize. Rent will always go up. Historically, it's going to go up about the cost of living index, or about 4% appreciation, inflation factor. Probably that's what you're going to expect for rent, and it will continue to go up over time. It doesn't always, like right now, our rent's a little bit soft, but they will continue to climb. But the thing about rent is you can pay rent forever. All right. So when you own a home, the security there is that eventually it'll be paid off and live free and clear. And so, this very first home, I wished I kept my first home in Alaska, because that would have been a great retirement or vacation home, and it would have been paid off 10 years ago. And so, the fact that you have a fixed rate payment at 4.5% of the builder funds, the payment itself will never go up. Now you have taxes and insurance that can fluctuate, but the mortgage payment, the actual loan itself, will be the same throughout the years. If you only make one extra principal and interest payment per year, you can knock that 30-year loan down to 22 years. So, most of our first-time home buyers are around the 30, 35 range, maybe 40s. And it's just neat to know that if you made an extra payment on the mortgage over 22 years, that by the time you're my age, at 62, you have a free and clear house, no more debt on it. So that's a really great advantage of being able to have a fixed rate home loan that you always know what your payment is, pending taxes and insurance. All right, a lot of home buyers don't realize the absolute amazing tax benefits of owning a home, and also a rental investment property. So the tax benefits, #1, are almost your whole entire payment is tax deductible. So that means your interest, which is on your mortgage, is most of your payment during the first few years is interest. So interest, and then taxes are also deductible. So, and that's about 90% of your payment is principal, is interest and the taxes on it. So if you're making let's say $100,000 per year, and you have a $3,000 house payment, let's call it principal and interest, or just interest and taxes, $3,000 per month. That's $36,000 per year. The government's going to take a look at your $100,000 per year, and they're going to subtract out the 36 from that income, because it's an itemized deduction, and what's left over is going to be what they're going to um, what they're going to tax you on. So you actually like 1/3 less. It actually can lower your taxable liability as well as lower your tax bracket. So I'm not giving tax advice. Always consult with a tax attorney or CPA or accountant or anything. But I don't like to give because I'm not qualified to give tax advice, though we know about it. And so the tax benefits are most of the payment is deductible. There's also certain costs, including the points that the builder pays when you close the house. The year that you buy the house, some of those closing costs are tax deductible off of your income. So that also makes for a further deduction for buying a house. A lot of times, even if the builder pays the 2 discount points like they do, that still can be deducted off of your income. Check with your accountant, check with your CPA, your tax preparer. Also, another thing about taxes, there's property taxes in Texas, but if you're a veteran and you have a disability, you have reduced property taxes. That's great for our veterans. Thank you for your service. If you have a VA loan and you are your VA eligibility and you're 100% disabled, you don't pay any property taxes in the state of Texas. That is huge, because about a 30-year payment is property taxes. And so we had up in Three Creeks with DR Horton Home, we had a young lady who came in, and she wanted to buy a house, and regular payments were going to be closer to almost $2,000 per month, maybe $1,800 a month. And then I asked her a lot of questions, and one of the questions, are you a veteran? She said, yes. Are you disabled? Yeah, yes, I am. Are you 100% disabled? She was able to get in that home for $950 per month when she thought she was going to be paying over $1,800 per month. That was many years ago, so those numbers have changed. But it's really neat to see those light bulbs go off. And she's in a house today that she didn't even think she could get. She went from being relatively depressed about not being able to afford it to being able to afford it simply by us showing her that she could do that through her disability. So that's really a really cool thing. Next thing is on investment. And so, I do sell a lot of investment homes too, and the tax benefits are crazy good for investors. This is really not an investor presentation. I have those on my website and on my YouTube channel, so you can check that out. But the investment side of things is what we get really excited about, because my dad, he came out of the military in 1963, captain in the Army, and he ended up buying a house in San Mateo, California, for $17,000 on a VA loan, 0 down, San Mateo, Northern California. And so we looked at that, and he bought it for 0 down. Then later on, corporate move and things like that, he had to move to Southern California. So 3 or 4 years later, he sold that house for $25,000, and he thought, wow, he's doing really well. The idea with real estate is that you want to hold it for a longer period of time, and also as the loan goes down, you build your equity. So it's kind of like this. You start off here, maybe you put a minimum down, so you have a little bit of equity as you go into it, and then you have a loan, and the loan goes down over time, the balance, and then the equity goes, usually over time, it goes up. And in other words, the average around the United States is around 4 to 5% appreciation per year. So the value starts going up, and the balance goes down, and the difference is equity, or your net worth. And so that's why we see so many people they're able to buy the next home because they have all this equity that they built up over several years, and they take that and put it over on a down payment on a much bigger house. So a lot of people do that, but I encourage my clients to think about keeping their first home, because my dad's house that went from 17 to 25,000 back in San Mateo in 1963 to 68 is now worth $1.9 million. So, I always see in my book, or I talk about that story, is because if he kept his original house and all the houses we lived in, rather than selling them and moving the money on, he would have been worth about $20 million. But that one house alone would have made him a multimillionaire. I call it an accidental millionaire. So this is why us as investors buy these houses. We buy the same product because we're able to buy something that's very affordable. It offers us as investors positive cash flow, and so we encourage also, like, our veterans who want to buy here, they're being They got PCS here. Instead of renting, they could buy. And if they get PCS to 3 years, they can turn that house that they have purchased into a rental. And now my brother-in-law, he still owns a house in Harker Heights that when he first came back from Korea, and this is like 35 years ago, he bought a house in Harker Heights and it's paid off now. There's a nice little additional income for his retirement. So equity is the answer. Cash flow or tax benefits are huge for both investors and for home owners and home buyers. All right, so the 10 steps to the home buying process. We're going to walk through that. One of the things you have to think about is that this is a big decision, but until you make a decision, nothing's going to happen. You have to decide, and then you have to commit, and then you have to never quit. So it's commit and never quit. And decide, actually, the root word of the meaning is to cut off. It means to cut off from any other possibility. So when you decide to purchase a home, then let's get together and make this happen for you, because it is something that I've never had anybody who made a decision to buy a home that if they're willing to do all the work and put it in, whether it was an easy thing or whether it was a difficult thing, that maybe they had credit issues or divorces or whatever. As long as I've worked with people for 3 or 4 years to get them in a position to be able to buy a house. But as long as you never quit, I stick with you. And so that's, and make it a goal. Write it down. Put it on your mirror. I want to own a home, and put it when you want to be in it. Time-bound goals are really amazing. I've written a book on goal setting, and so basically that's what I would like to see you do, is to commit to the process. The second thing is after you've decided you're going to do this, maybe you and your significant other, is to sit down and make a plan. And make a plan. Step 2 and step 3 can come together, and I'll tell you what I'm talking about here in a second. So making a plan is deciding what is this next home in your mind's eye. What does it look like? Where is it? What's the location? What's important to you as a family or lifestyle for you personally? What is your time frame? That's another big deal. It's like, how long do you plan on being in this next home? The other one is when do you want to be in the next home? And do you have a lease in place? There's all these things that you have to think about. Let's say you just signed a lease 3 months ago and you got 9 months left on the lease. Well, if you're building, it could take 3-4 months to build the house, and so by that time you're almost halfway through your lease. And our builders are offering ways for us, and through the realtor, for me, the real estate broker, offering to be able to buy pay off your lease, or basically get you out of your lease, pay the penalties, and move on, so you can get into a home. So don't let a lease get in your way. And but let's go ahead and talk about making the plan. And the plan is like, what is it that you really, really desire? And once you start working with the plan, what I like to see is I like to do a needs and wants list. And actually, I have a form in my book that's that I give you. Needs. A lot of times you don't really know exactly all your needs and wants until you really start talking about it or thinking about it. And needs are gotta haves. I gotta have it. Got to have as much as possible. In other words, your minimum standards. I gotta have at least 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. I gotta have my store, the HEB, just within 5 minutes. I gotta be in this school district. What are the gotta haves? And you make a list. And remember, it's minimum standards. I gotta have a payment that's lower than this. And maybe it's I gotta have granite in the kitchen. Maybe it's I've gotta have I want stainless steel appliances. So whatever the gotta haves are, and location is included, commute to work and all that, you mark them down here. And we also like to number them on a scale of 1 to 10, which is most important and which is not as important. In other words, so if it's something that you got to have, like I got to have at least 3 bedroom, 2 bath, then that's a 10. You're not going to buy the house unless you get that one thing taken care of. Let's say I've got to be in a particular elementary school district. Well, if that's a gotta have, then and you won't buy a house with that. If it's in any other school district, that's a 10. But let's take that school district, for instance. We have homes that are right here. I know we have a client right now that wants to keep her kids in the Temple school district because they're already ingrained, but she's doesn't have a problem. Look at the Belton school district, because Belton schools are usually considered a higher rating. So it may be a 5 on the schools, But you're going to take that seriously. In other words, it's a need. And then wants are your dream list. It's be nice to have. So your conversation, if you're talking to a significant other or you're talking to yourself, is like, would it be nice to have? I know for the guys, a lot of times it's like media room. For the ladies, it's usually the kitchen is most important, and the master closet. In fact, when they show properties, usually I see the lady, come to the kitchen, and this is where, the kitchen and the master bath. Those are the two big things usually for the lady. For the gentleman, it's usually, something I got to have outdoors, outdoor living area, or it could be, a garage, a 3-car garage, or, I want to have my own separate man cave or whatever it is, the different needs and wants. But it's interesting when you start doing this on the nice to haves, you got to dream a little dream. Maybe this will be for your next home, something for you to work towards. But it's, I go the same thing and rate the same things would be nice to have. Let's say it'd be nice to be less than 30 minutes to commute to work. And then rate that as how important is that want? Okay, well, it's about a 6 or 7. I really want. It's not quite a need because I can travel further if I need to. So we got the sheet. We go over that, or you go over it with your significant other or yourself, and this is what you're going to bring to us as your consultant or your buyer's agent. And so we're going to explain how that works here. But the one more thing you want to do is don't wants. No, I don't want. Okay, for me, one of my pet peeves is busy streets. I don't want have a double yellow line down the middle of the street. That means that you're looking at probably 35, 40 mile an hour in front of my house. I don't want my kids and dogs being harassed by cars traveling through. So the other thing I don't like is, for instance, power lines behind my house. Not a big fan. So there's always things that are going to be important to you, and then things are like, no. In fact, we have some cultural buyers. They don't want a house facing west. I wouldn't have known that unless I asked them, what is something that you don't want? And the way the consulting works is, state of Texas now, and it's always kind of been this. It's always been this way. You have your sellers representatives, the people that put the sign in the yard. So the person that puts the sign in the yard, let's say it's Remax, and they're Remax. This agent who is representing the seller 100%. And every house that you see out there, every builder's model that you go into, anybody that's selling a home, those signs are signs of the realtor who represents the seller. Their responsibility is to get the seller the most money, the best terms, best timing, and all these different things. And so one of the things you have to realize is that you have the opportunity to hire your own agent who represents only your best interests. And that would be called a buyer's agent or buyer's broker. And that's what I do. And so most of the homes that are bought and sold usually have a buyer's broker, because people want to be represented. They want to have a confidant. They want to be able to make sure they're getting the best deal and their interests are best represented. If you go directly to the seller's agent, they're not going to tell you there's a better house down the street. They're not going to tell you, that the seller will take a discount. They won't tell. They're not allowed to disclose any of the situation of the seller, divorce, or moving out of state. So they're on a disadvantage because they have all the information you don't. Usually, there's about a 5 or 6% commission that's agreed to, but the seller's going to pay that, of which 3% goes to the listing agent with the sign in the yard, and then 3% goes to your buyer's representative. That's negotiable, but it's really pretty much the way it's been for the last 50 years. And when they do that, if they basically they're paying, the seller is paying for your representation through the sale of the house. If you don't have a buyer's agent, the seller the listing agent can keep the entire 6%, and you get no representation. So when you're thinking about buying a home, you make a plan, and you can get together and consult with your buyer's agent. You hire them to represent you. If you don't like what they're doing, then fire them. But the bottom line is that we're all here to help you get into the home. But you definitely need somebody on your side who represents you, especially when the seller or the builder, especially, is going to pay the commission. They're going to pay that. The builder takes care of that for you. So I would definitely, the consultant will also help you build a team. And the team is all the people involved in making your homeownership dreams come true. That's not something that you normally have if you're not a real estate in real estate. And the team is, I call them trusted experts, advisors, and mentors. So you're going to need, one of the first things we're going to recommend that you would do is to get pre-approved for a loan if you're not paying cash. And because there's so many loan programs out there, there's zero down loans, there's USDA, there's FHA, there's VA, all this alphabet soup, and it is an industry that most of us don't really know how loans work. And so trusted experts, advisors, and mentors, but the two key people are usually going to be in the transactions: your buyer's agent and your loan officer. Those are the ones that really kind of drive the ship. And then there's title companies, appraisers, and there's all the ancillary services, the inspectors and things like that. So you're going to be looking at lender is probably your first visit, because we don't know how much you qualify for, and neither do you. We don't know what your credit score is, because neither do you. And the reason is your credit score changes every day. And so you really have to get in there and get a snapshot of what you have, because the FICO score that's generated will have different levels of costs on the loan, and even whether you can qualify or not, based on your FICO. And so especially first timers, the hardest thing, the two key things that they have most trouble with is cash and credit. So I cut my teeth back in the early 90s helping people fix their credit. To this day, we have now with DR Horton, we have the Homebuyers Club, which is it's a $39 credit repair, but I pay that $39 for you. So it's basically free credit repair. And we've seen people with in the 500 FICO scores being able to buy a home within 30, 60 days if they followed what was taught in the with the Homebuyer Club. So great to have an advocate there. Check out your credit. Check out what you need to do to optimize it. The higher the credit, the better position you are going to be in. So really, we're going to hook you up with a lender. If you're going with a builder, you want to go with the builder's lender, because you get all those incentives like the 4.5% financing and the closing costs being paid. If you're buying a resale, you want to have your own outside lender that handles that. And we have a dozen of some of the best in the business to help you with that. So your lender you're going to meet with them, and they're going to come and they're going to figure out what you want to know is the most amount that your income and debts can afford in a loan. In other words, how much of a loan that you can get, and that'll determine the sales price of the house. So then you know where your max is. So there's oftentimes people are out looking for homes that they can't afford because they didn't know what their max, or they went over their max, which they didn't know until they actually got in the loan process. Or there's a lot of people who may have gone out there and looked at homes that they would have been able to, they had a lot more buying power, and they would have got really what they wanted if they knew that their loan amount could be higher. So first thing we're going to find out is the max buying power. Just a little bit of algebra here to kind of give you an idea. This is just kind of a easy way, a rule of thumb. The lender will look at your income if you're like on a regular salary or hourly position, and they're going to take 50% of your gross monthly income to go to all of your debts combined. Okay, so let's say you have a $5,000 a month income. They're going to allow $2,500 to go to all of your debts combined, and then maybe you've got to subtract out your debt. So let's say you have a $400 car payment. That leaves $2,100 left over for a house payment. So now you know how much you qualify for. And right now, if you're using DR Horton, you can divide that by 8.008, and you're going to find that's the factor we use is it's about $8 per thousand is what I'm saying. So you can now go around and say, okay, if that house is 200, if it's $200,000 loan, then that's going to be about $1,600 a month. That's your ballpark. If it's $300,000 and the loan amount's going to be you're going to be looking at approximately $2,400 per month. That's a pretty good ballpark. So you don't have to really know the mortgage calculator and everything if you just want to ballpark it. So the nice thing is we work you through this and figure out what is the maximum that you can qualify for. You can buy anything less than that. Most people don't go to their max. Some people need to. It just all depends on your personal situation. So apply for the loan. We'll help you fix your credit. We will help you come up with down payment assistance if you need it. We have zero down programs. USDA is a fantastic program, and that's and we have a community. DR Horton has one in Belton right now. That's It's in the low 200s that you can get in the Belton School District. You have USDA. The payments are incredibly low. I mean, we're talking for a 1,900 square foot house around the 1,750. 5-bedroom, two and a half bath house for around $1,750, $1,800 per month. Unbelievable. It's crazy. So you apply for the loan, and once you come with they're going to give you a pre-approval letter, and that pre-approval letter is kind of like having a big suitcase full of money. It's kind of like having is once you have it, you know exactly, and you come with confidence that when you're ready to make an offer, you found the house that's right for you, that you have the ability to move forward. The worst thing you can do is to go out, start looking at homes, fall in love with the house, and not be pre-approved. It's the nicest house in the area, and everybody else is wanting it because we do have, it's very robust this summer on the market. Is that the nice ones go quick. And it might be a Sunday afternoon. You don't have time to go get a loan officer to pre-qualify. You can't get a hold of them. So you need that pre-approval letter preferably before you head out so you can buy with confidence. And that gives you some sense of security there, and that you're not just spinning your wheels. So once you get ready with the suitcase full of money, you're going to get your buyer's agent, who's going to be giving you all the properties that are available in your area, whether it be new construction or resale. It's going to filter all the information that they've given you on your needs and wants and everything through their years of experience. I do recommend that you work with agents with years of experience because new agents don't have all the in-depth knowledge and wisdom that we do. As somebody who's been in the business, most of them I'd like to see 5 to 10 years in the business. I've got 43 years, so I got most beat. And I still just love seeing when people go out and they find a home, get on the hunt. I mean, I've been on House Hunters 3 different times. It's a great fun show, and it was House Hunters HGTV is the #1 show with 13 million viewers, and so it was neat to be like actually living the House Hunters when we go out and take buyers looking for homes. So find a home with your agent. They're gonna bring up, it could be 3 to 10 to 12 properties. You're gonna be able to be involved with which ones you want to look at. Now, it used to be we had to help the people buy it because they didn't have direct access to the properties in MLS. Now everybody has access to the MLS, and so most everything that's on the market for resale is in the MLS, which is a multiple listing service that contains all of the realtor houses for sale. The builders also put their properties in the MLS as well, and the problem is they don't put all of their inventory in there. There could be other properties. There could be ones that they're building that could be finished in your time frame that are not on the MLS. So that takes really going to each builder and not just seeing what's on their website, but also as we do we ask for the inventory sheet. What do you have coming up? Because maybe the home you really want is on the lot that hasn't started yet, and that's where we come in and help you with finding the right home. When you find the right home, you're going to make an offer on it, and your agent, your buyer's agent, is going to first call the listing agent and say, "What's the story with the seller here?" And we as professionals get a lot more information, pertinent information, from a listing agent than you would as a home buyer, because their responsibility is to the seller. But we have an unwritten language in the real estate agent community where they use words like they're motivated, or their price is firm, or they're leaving the state, they have to get out by this time. And there's even cases like as a buyer's agent, I would walk into a house and we'd go to the master bedroom and we would see just one set of clothes, man's clothes on one side and nothing on the other. That could imply a breakup here or a divorce, which gives opportunities for more of just you're going to get better prices on the home for those that absolutely have to sell. So there's just all these kind of cool secrets that we do. When we find the home, when we're looking for homes, you also want to look at what are the amenities that the community provides. I also like to have our clients rate the communities on a scale of 1 to 10, just like you would do on the home. You find a home. When you're looking at homes, you're going to be when you're driving the neighborhoods, like, this is a really nice neighborhood. I call this an 8. Same thing with the house itself. When you get in there and you may be looking at 5, 7 houses in a day, you want to keep track of the ones you like the most by giving a number to it, like scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best. So I would just definitely get 8s, 9s, and 10s. If there's a 5 or a 0, then we don't consider those anymore. But oftentimes after you look at the supply that's out there, then you're going to want to come back to the ones that you get designated as 8, 9, and 10, and we can forget about the rest. And helping do the numbering system helps us come to the conclusion of which property is going to be best for you. This is a process of elimination. And so we want to eliminate as much of the riffraff or the neighborhoods that you don't like out so that we can move forward the one that's actually going to work for you. Once we have decided on the home, we are going to negotiate. We're going to make an offer. And so you're usually looking at, a resale. Offers usually are not full price unless it's a great property. Sometimes you find the property's priced right, which is a good listing agent, and you can get full price, and sometimes even more than full price, even in this market. You can also look at the incentives. Like, what incentives do they have that we can take advantage of? So the incentives are usually going to be with the builder. It's going to be financing incentives, could be pricing incentives, but everybody negotiates. Builders negotiate, sellers negotiate, and it's our job as professionals to make sure that we get you as the buyer the best position, best terms, best pricing, and the best home. And so that's our commitment to you as the buyer's broker. So you're going to go in. We're going to negotiate on your behalf. You don't have to negotiate directly with the seller at all. Something that we do as professionals. We help negotiations when I'm an expert at is expert negotiations. Also, because I used to own a mortgage company, I can also help with the pre-approval and the financing. So that's also very helpful. All right. So once you've negotiated, you're going to sign a contract, sign the paperwork, and make your offer. The offer will go back. Usually goes to the seller. If they don't like it and they want to make some changes, they'll come back and they'll make a counter offer. And this can go back like ping pong several times. And sometimes we don't come to terms, and sometimes we do. But usually, until all the boxes are checked and everybody's come to an agreement with this price is going to be, the terms, the timing, and everything, then you move on to signing the paperwork. You're going to once it's agreed to, you're going to sign it. You're going to put your earnest money up. Earnest money is usually about 1% of the sales price of the property. With builders, it can be anywhere as low as $50. But usually the resale market, you're looking at about 1%. You're also going to do what's called an option fee. Usually, something nominal, $200, $250. And the option fee allows you to have the unrestricted right to back out during the option period, which is usually a week, 10 days from when you sign the contract, to back out for any reason whatsoever. It's kind of your escape hatch if you decide this is not the right property for you. So, and that if you decide this house is not right for you, and you go with you decide you want to exercise your option of not buying the house, you'll lose your $200, but you get your earnest money back. So builders don't usually have option periods. It's a different process. But the bottom line is that if you're only got $50 up, earnest money is not a whole big loss if you decide to back out. So the option period is your big out, and that gives you the time to also do your inspections. And we'll talk about that in a second. So the earnest money goes to a title company. I'd say the title company is a escrow company that holds the money and holds all the information, and also runs all the title reports and makes sure the seller has a free title, a title that's free of encumbrances other than what's going to be paid off. Their money goes into this third-party escrow account held for the purposes of the transaction. The title company or the escrow company is where you're going to end up at closing. That's where we close the transaction towards the end. And so they order all the homeowners association documentation. They order all the title. We also order the appraisal. We order inspections, and so we work well with in coordination with the title company for basically their paperwork for the title work. You get insured. Your seller usually is going to pay a title insurance policy. And the title insurance policy covers you from any liens or debts that were on the property in case something showed up later that was a lien on the property. The title insurance will take care of that. So they're going to give you basically free titles, which you're going to be looking at. The other thing is, okay, so once the process starts going, usually the process takes 3 weeks from start to finish. It can be quicker, especially with a cash transaction. It can be a little bit longer. Just depends on how 60 days is usually on the outside. And so it just depends. It's all negotiable. The inspections, this is where we have two major inspections, and there's additional ones that we can talk about. But the number one is the property inspection. That's the one that we order as soon as you go under contract, to be able to make sure that everything in the house, whatever's wrong with it, that they come up with a list of things that are wrong with it and explain why. And they're state licensed inspectors, so it's not like they're just driving a pickup down the street and saying that they're an inspector. And we really we're really encouraged to have the inspections done on every property. New construction, about 50% of my clients don't do the inspection, or maybe they wait till towards the end of the first year warranty. And that's one thing that's nice about new construction is you get a 1-year bumper to bumper warranty. You have a 2 years behind the walls, and you have a 10-year structural. So I mean, that's foundation and roof trusses and things like that. So it's a pretty comprehensive warranty that you get as part of the sales price of the house. Those warranties are transferable to a new buyer during that warranty period. So it gives peace of mind and also everything in the house is new. So your appliances are new, so they're just getting started. You buy an older home, there's some advantages to the older home because they're in neighborhoods that they don't have new construction anymore. They may be more mature, they may be in the preferred school district, whatever it is. But you can also get a warranty on that. Usually we ask the seller to pay for that warranty, and that's usually just a 1-year, more of a residential service warranty, which covers your appliances, your air conditioner. It's not like a big giant builder warranty. It covers everything, but it's nice to get those warranties and have a little bit of peace of mind, or a lot of peace of mind. So we've had many things where warranty came in and saved the day. Your inspector is going to make a list, and then that goes back to negotiating again. We're going to go back to the seller and say, we want this fixed, we want this amount of money to fix this after closing, or you just want one lump sum being credited to you at closing. It's all kinds of different ways. Sometimes there's nothing, but the inspection reports will always come up with something wrong with the house. But it's okay because some of it's just code stuff. A lot of it's very minimal. Only looking usually the big things: foundation, plumbing, plumbing issues, cracks in the wall, or potential mold and things like that. Those are the biggies. But for the most part, we usually work through the inspection reports. And if it doesn't work for you and you didn't want to take on any kind of repairs that you didn't expect, then you just get out during your option period and move on, and we find you another house. The other ones that you won't talk to see is the appraiser. The appraiser is actually hired by the mortgage company to go out and appraise the property, state licensed inspector again, to make sure that the property has enough collateral to verify that you're not paying too much for it. Because the lenders also has a big stake in the property, sometimes 100% stake. So they want to make sure the value is there. And usually we don't have a problem with appraisals. We've seen sometimes we have during these hyper appreciation modes, but right now we're not having a problem with getting the appraised value. And if it doesn't appraise, then we can go back to the seller and try to negotiate. So for the most part, we don't have many problems with appraisals at this moment. So once all that's put together, and it's all brought together with your buyer's agent negotiating all the terms, the final terms of the inspections and things like that. Once those are all signed off, you sign amendments that take care of it. Pretty much and then your title work is all done, waiting at the title company. Your deed, the loan documents are drawn up, and the closing documents for signing, for both the seller to sign the deed for you, and for the mortgage company to get their mortgage documents, and title gets switched over, HOA, homeowners insurance information gets switched. You're going to be going to closing, and so closing is where you get the keys to the property. And so, like I said, this whole process it's quick, it's complicated, but you need to have a guide with you and a trusted experts and advisors to help you through this process. And that's what we do. We kind of orchestrate the whole thing as a buyer's agent. So, and then we help you at closing, make sure all the numbers are right, make sure that you get everything that you need and the keys are transferred, a garage door opener. We always do walkthroughs. So before you go to closing, there's one of the last things you're going to do. First, you do a pre-inspection closing where before you close the house on a new construction, about a week before, you're going to go do an inspection, make sure you tag up the house for any cosmetic issues or any major issues, minor issues, make sure we're covering those. And then you come back just maybe the day or day before closing, and you make sure that all those things have been taken care of. Resale, usually we have a walkthrough a day or two before to make sure that anything that was on the list that we asked to be repaired gets repaired. And then we check that off before we go to closing. So you get your inspections done, you do your own personal walkthroughs with your agent, and then you go to closing, and all the paperwork's there. You bring your rest of your down payment in, if any, and your pen and your IDs, and then you sign off on all the paperwork, and then the seller signs off on the deed, and you sign on the mortgage, and you get the keys and the title to the house. So that's how it works. And so once you get to the point of closing, make sure you do things like, get your change of address done for the post office, go get your keys from the post office. Make sure when you're doing it, don't ever, some tips here, don't ever try to have things delivered the day of closing, like refrigerators, washers, and dryers, because sometimes closings get delayed out of our control. And so I would say wait a few days before you start putting appliances in. Make sure your family's all cool, the pets are set, and everything like that. The closing is a really exciting time. That's when all the hard work of doing something you probably haven't done a whole lot of times in your life, maybe the first time, then you have your guide there to help you through. We all celebrate your closing, and there's nothing more fun, more exhilarating to experience that first day where you wake up in your own home and you wake up and go, it's mine. So that's what we've done to help people become homeowners time and time and out. Over 2,000 homeowners. I've closed over $500 million in transactions in my 43 years, over 2,000 homes. And I can help you walk through this process, personally hold your hand, be your advocate, help fix credit if we need to, help you with down payment if we need to, whatever it is to take you get in the home, get you out of that rental situation where you're throwing money away. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to help you with. So once again, I'm Kenn Renner, and love to connect with you. Here's my information. I'm a real estate broker here, licensed, I serve all of Central Texas. And this is my phone number, 512-423-5626. You can schedule your own appointment with me at callkenn.com. That's Kenn with 2 N's. Don't ask me why my dad named me with 2 N's, but callkenn.com. And then you have my emails, kennsteam@gmail.com. And so I've got lots of resources for you. I've got the book. And if you're on the live stream here, we'll get you a soft copy of it. Just shoot me an email, text, or just put it in the chat. I'd be more than happy to help you on the next move. So let's have a 10-minute conversation, 15-minute conversation, have a discovery call, find out where you're at. No matter where you're at, not only do I work Central Texas, which covers anything from San Antonio to Waco, but I also help people that are relocating to Dallas, because I have a really good network of other agents that I've collaborated with all these years. So I can find you the vetted expert for your area, no matter where you're at in the United States. So love to help you out. Once again, Kenn Renner, real estate broker here in Central Texas, Temple, Texas to be exact. 512-423-5626. Let's go find you a home. Let's get you in a home today. All right. Thanks a lot. Let me know if there's any questions or comments. I'll take a look and see, since I don't have another phone to look at. Let's take a look. Okay. Let's see. I'll take this out, see if I can answer some of your questions. All right. Let's see. Wow. Lots of chatter here. Okay, so we're ready to get pre-qualified. Give me a call. Let's go ahead and have a discovery call, 512-423-5626. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with me on this live stream. I look forward to helping you. My name's Kenn Renner. I'll see you at the top. Chat soon.